go ahead and get started, we can roll.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, first of all, we want to welcome you guys tonight. Sarah contacted me last week and was like, hey, let's collab and do a hair loss education course. And, you know, I'd taken one last week with another lady and have learned so much over the past 20 years that I've been doing hair. And I think it's so important with what we do and the industry that we're in, for you guys just to have an understanding of what hair loss is and why it happens. And I know a lot of you guys have already probably learned a lot of things already, but we just want to go a little bit more in depth. Just to give you guys an idea of who I am, if some of you guys don't know me, my name is Kyla Williamson. I am from Oklahoma, and I've been a hairstylist, like I said, for almost 20 years. And I've learned so much about hair loss just in the last 6 years of being with Monat. And these are things that we did not really learn in hair school. I mean, 90% of what we learn is in the field and kind of from our experience. And then if the extra courses that we want to take from certain places that teach about it, it's kind of up to us. So this is something that they don't really teach in hair school. So we don't claim to know everything, but we just want to share our experience and the things that we have learned from big time people in the industry, dermatologists, trichologists. I've learned from the National Hair Loss Association. I've learned so much from them, and their CEO and president, and one of their workers is one of their consultants is a very dear friend of mine. So I've learned so much. I have a resource that I can go to. So it's really incredible to have that resource. And we want to be able to share this knowledge with you guys as well. So Sarah, I'll let you kind of.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Sarah Reed, and I have been a hairstylist. I'm now a retired hairstylist. I still do hair and color when I want to. I'm still practicing. I'm still active. I still continue my education. It's really important to me. But I've been a hairstylist for about 9.5 years, and I specialized in hair extensions. And a lot of times, hair extensions are usually the people that are wearing them. It's because they're trying to hide loss or, you know, toppers. So it was just a constant conversation. And so, yeah, I really didn't understand as much as I understand now, being with the company and wanting to understand why our products work. Why are our products so amazing versus something else that might be out there? So I'm really excited to share this with you. I'll turn it back over to you, Kyla.
Awesome. Yeah. And one of the things that I've just really taken on in my career as well is healthy hair. I mean, I've just really, I've been intrigued by that my entire career. I've always wanted to do the right thing by my client. And so it's always been a thing. But again, like I said, I've not learned as much as I have in the last year. So we're going to kind of start with the basics and kind of give you guys an idea of maybe what a follicle looks like, what a root looks like, just kind of a little like hair follicle 101 kind of thing. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Here you have the hair. The line across there is like the scalp there, and then you have the hair coming up. You have the root, and attached to the root is the blood vessels, and then you have this oil gland that's going up. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick visual of what that looks like, because some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, this will be a good visual for you to understand how this kind of works. So there's a quick visual. I hope you snapped a picture of it or something, or kind of have a visual of it in your head, because that's kind of what we're going to be talking a lot about, a lot of things here with this. Okay, so there's that. You know, everybody has 100,000 or more hairs on their head. So 60,000 hairs are on the top, and roughly 40,000 are on the sides. And where most people see hair loss, the very first thing they see in hair loss is right at the hairline, just right up at the top. And you can usually do like a finger length behind your original hairline is where they see most of the hair loss. And every follicle is different at every growth stages. So women will mostly see hair loss, you know, around the temple area, where a lot of men will start to see it more at the back of the hair too, at the back of their scalp. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the main causes of hair loss are. And Sara, did you want to start that, or?
Yeah, sure,
Okay, go ahead.
absolutely. So like Kyla was saying, you know, all the follicles are at different stages at different times in the hair growth cycle. What are the main causes of hair loss? The main causes of hair loss, number one, is genetics. And Kyla was actually saying something the other day that was really cool. She said, like, you can pretty much tell what your hair is going to look like if you look at both parents, mom and dad, not just dad. I think the assumption is like what the mother's father or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true. It's both parents. Other contributors are stress. That's a huge contributor. Surgeries, anesthesia, medications, including like antidepressants and birth control, vitamin deficiency. This is a major one that people don't really, you know, people will say, well, I had testing done, or well, did they check your iron levels, your vitamin D levels? Those are major contributors too. Other contributors are that we might not think about are poor oral health. It's not every day that somebody is standing up and saying, hey, I have a mouthful of bacteria and rot, but my hair is falling out. You know, it's every other reason. Tooth decay. Quitting addictive substances can also cause the hair to react this way. Vitamin deficiency is prevalent because hair isn't really necessary for survival, not like the heart, the lungs, your organs. So if the body isn't in complete homeostasis and it's not getting nutrients to these vital organs, it's going to pull it from other areas like your hair, your skin, and your nails. It's the first to go. So usually if there's hair loss happening, it's an indicator that there's something on the inside happening. If the body is lacking nutrients for vital organs, it will pull those nutrients going to the hair, skin, and nails. Also, another contributor would be hormonal fluctuations, including things like postpartum. And Kyla, we can talk about this a little bit more, but you were saying that it's usually 3 weeks after delivery or stopping breastfeeding. That's something that I always ask people that I know that maybe they had a baby like in the past 2 years. And if they report shedding, that might be a question that I ask is, well, have you recently stopped breastfeeding? 9 months of pregnancy, though, you won't see any shedding. Do you want to go into this a little bit more, Kyla?
Yeah. So a lot of times, you know, that was something that was new to me. I did not know that during pregnancy, until a couple of years ago, that during pregnancy, a woman does not shed. And so if you think about it, after she has the baby, and within 3 weeks of having that baby, or after she stopped, a lot of people, if they breastfeed, they won't see it until they stop breastfeeding, but some do. It just depends on their chemistry. But after they have the baby, all the hair that they were supposed to lose over that period of time will start to come out, and they will see an overabundance of shedding, and they'll kind of freak out. But it's a totally normal thing. You guys, let me tell y'all something. Hair loss has been around since the beginning of mankind. It is not something that just came out because a product came out. This has always been a thing. And, you know, I think because of some negative lies that came out a few years ago, I mean, people act like it's this new thing, and it's always been a thing. It's a normal thing to shed. It is a absolute normal thing to shed. And so as we get older, though, our shedding phases get longer and our dormant phases get smaller because our body's just aging, and you know, all the things. So shedding is a normal thing. And I just want to put out there that, you know, all this stuff you can find on the internet, all of these things that we're talking to you about, we've just kind of condensed it to an hour, and we're just giving you the information. So if anything that we talk about, you guys can absolutely go and research it and do your own research. But we've been researching it for a few days and quite a few years, honestly. And we're just giving you guys the information that would be super helpful for you in building your businesses. So one of the next things that we want to talk to you about is DHT hormone, which is dihydrotestosterone. And as we get older, the DHT levels in our bodies increase. And so DHT hormone is said to cause hair loss. And that's one of the things that we try to combat inside our body and outside of our body. So DHT hormone is, hair could be allergic to DHT hormone on the top of the hair, which is mostly where that DHT hormone sits. But not so much on the sides and back. And most people will see hair loss, you know, around this top area, like I said earlier, with women in the front here and men mostly on the back, and you rarely see it on the sides because that DHT hormone will sit right there. It attacks the follicle, causing inflammation, which squeezes the blood vessel. You guys remember the diagram that I just showed you? The DHT hormone will actually squeeze that blood vessel to not allow that blood flow in there, which will slow down the growth. And so it kind of attacks follicle, causing inflammation, and it restricts the blood, water, and nutrient flow to that root. And as we age, that DHT hormone levels increase. Like I said, this is called hair miniaturization, when the DHT hormone kind of squeezes those blood vessels and does not allow the blood, water, and nutrients to flow in. And the buildup can cause the restriction of the blood flow, water, and nutrients. So this is kind of how, when that happens, that DHT hormone will not allow the things that it needs to grow. And this is kind of a diagram of what that looks like. And you can kind of see how this is a healthy one to the left, and then you move to the right, and that's kind of the cause. And as we get older, this is what happens. So that's a little bit about the DHT hormone. Sara, kind of talk to us a little bit about the growth pattern for a hair follicle, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to touch on something that Kyla just said. You know, with the miniaturization, water is a really important factor. Our bodies are 70% water. Stay hydrated. I know it sounds super simple and maybe silly, but something as simple as hydrating your body can do amazing things, not only for your hair and skin, but just your body overall. I thought that this was really interesting. How long does it take hair to go through a full growth cycle? 2 to 6 years. But our follicles are pre-programmed as to how long it's going to be in what cycle, and over what period of time, and how long they will stay in each cycle. Hair will grow about 10 millimeters a month. 90% of your hair will be in the resting phase, while the other 10% is growing or shedding. A really good analogy would be when we're children, we have baby teeth, we have to get adult teeth. Those adult teeth are going to push those baby teeth out, but we don't always see the adult teeth, not for maybe a couple of weeks after that baby tooth is already gone. Same thing, think about like leaves on a tree. In order for a new leaf to come through, the old leaf has to go. And as Kyla was saying, you know, shedding can be a normal thing, and we're going to talk about how much shedding is normal. So before we go into that, let me just say that, let's say Kyla loses 50 hairs and I lose 50 hairs. My 50 hairs are going to look way more than Kyla's, almost shockingly more. Not because it's more hair, just because my hair is so much longer and her hair is so much shorter. So there's so much more hair there, but not more strands. Hair detaches from the root 3 months prior, and it can sit there just kind of hanging out, stuck. And we want to wash every single day if we are struggling with hair loss. And I actually didn't know this either, is that we want to be washing every day. We've always kind of been told like, oh, shampooing every day is really bad. It strips the microbiome layer and it can be really hard on the hair. But when you're trying to block the DHT hormone, you also want to wash and cleanse that DHT hormone. You want to give the follicle those DHT blocking benefits. Also, buildup, like mineral buildup, even product buildup. You know, the white scaly stuff that builds up on your shower doors, the glass doors, that all builds up on our scalp, our hair, our skin, and it can pack itself into the follicle. And if we're not exfoliating and we're not doing proper cleansing, then it can interrupt all of that growth, and it can block blood flow and nutrients that are essential for growth. We lose an average of 50 to 100 hairs a day. Like I said, longer hair is going to look more like it's more loss. And when people first start using the products, or really any hair care or regrowth product, the reason why they might see increased fall is because that hair is already, like I said, it's detached 3 months prior, and it has new hair right behind it. And these growth products are helping to stimulate that. Monat is feeding vital nutrients, which encourage growth. Also, when you aren't coating the scalp and laminating ingredients that pack themselves into the follicle, that detached hair can freely fall. It's almost like getting your feet stuck in mud, and you're just kind of stuck in there unless you cleanse, you use something with gentle surfactants, exfoliants, things like that, and then your foot is free to get out of the mud. Do you want to touch on that at all a little bit more, Kyla?
Well, I just want to reiterate that we lose 50 to 100 hairs a day. And I've had people come to me and say, oh my gosh, I had so much hair come out, blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, when was the last time you washed your hair? Well, I haven't washed my hair in like 4 or 5 days. Guys, 50 to 100 hairs a day, and you haven't washed in 4 to 5 days, that's like almost 500 hairs that they probably would have lost, in the shower. So you got to keep that in mind, that it is absolutely normal to shed 50 to 100 hairs a day. And depending on how often you wash, that is going to look more or less, right? So I just wanted to reiterate that for sure. There's so many different types of hair loss, but some of the ones that we see that are pretty common, one of them is alopecia areata. Another one that's not too common, it's universalis totalis universalis, whichever one that is. That's when you lose complete hair, like all of your hair, eyebrows, everything, you lose it. This is a picture of somebody that has alopecia areata. It's usually in a perfect circle, and this is where the body is lacking the nutrients from a vital organ, and it will pull those nutrients going from the hair and the skin, the nails, just like we've talked about. Anytime your body is lacking anything, it will pull from the hair, the skin, and the nails. And that's where mostly people will see it in their hair right away. So this is a picture of what alopecia areata looks like. And then there's also tension alopecia, which is caused, from braiding and the tightening of the hairstyles that people use. And Sarah, I'm going to let you kind of go into that, because you're a big expert in extensions and things like that. So talk about a little bit about tension alopecia.
Yeah, and I just want to backtrack on something that Kyla was talking about as far as alopecia areata. It can come out of nowhere. You can be 50 years old, never struggle with hair loss a day in your life, and out of nowhere you wake up and you've got this small circle. And a lot of times they expand from the inside out and get bigger from the inside out. And they tend to grow back that way too. They close inward. So just be able to recognize that it's an autoimmune disorder. So you want to encourage that they're talking to their doctor, because again, hair loss of that kind of significance represents that there's something else going on in the body. As far as tension hair loss, braiding, like really tight braiding, tying, I'm a firm believer in this, tying your hair up in a towel like a turban when your hair is really wet. It's very fragile. And all of that tension is all along the hairline. It's not back here. It's all right here. So that, like Kyla was saying, that's one of the first places to go. So try not to sleep in, like, I know that some people rock the pineapple for their curls. Loose ponytails are okay. It's when things get really, really tight. extensions over time, if they're done really tight and they pull, they can also cause tension alopecia.
So this is what I learned on my call last week that I was on a hair loss education class. And she said there's 3 types of help when it comes to hair loss. There's prevention, there's boosters, and there's restoration. So prevention would be like somebody taking a pill like Propecia, or like laser. Have you all seen those little laser caps, the red caps that they put on? I forgot what they're called. Just totally left my mind. But there's also boosters that, like, boosters would be like Rogaine, Nioxin, obviously Monat, biotin, the vitamin biotin. They recommend to take 5,000 to 10,000 milligrams a day of biotin. And then there's also restoration, which would be surgery. And those are the 3 types of things that will help with hair loss. And one of the things that we really want to talk to you about is minoxidil. Minoxidil seems to be in most of the things that are out there. We do not use minoxidil in Monat, but minoxidil was originally used as a blood pressure medication, and they put it in shampoos because it just kind of roughed up the blood flow at the surface. It really didn't do any DHT blocking benefits. It really caused a lot of other side effects. So you're kind of in that mode whenever you're using something like that. You want to watch out for the side effects that it can cause. It stimulates the blood flow at the scalp, and as Sarah said, the hair kind of comes in like chicken fluff. It really doesn't focus on hair health. Most of the hair regrowth products don't really focus on the actual hair. It really focuses on the scalp. And again, it comes with a lot of side effects. And this is what I love so much about Monat, is that it actually, people always say, well, I want the one that makes your hair grow back. I'm like, okay, well, we really, like, all of our products really focus on scalp health, but we also really focus on the hair health too, because this is like dead hair and we want to keep it as beautiful and strong and healthy as possible. And so I love that Monat has so many different lines. When you go buy Rogaine or Nioxin or whatever, it's just like, boom, one bottle of shampoo. And it really doesn't focus on the hair. And so Monat has an entire line of products that helps with the hair, along with the scalp nutrition and antioxidants and all of the good things that the scalp needs for healthy hair growth. So that's what I love about Monat. Sarah, did you have anything to add to that?
No, except I fully agree. Like I was saying, I'm an extension specialist. So I had a lot of clients that were wearing extensions because they were trying to hide and disguise hair loss. So I would have to put them on something like Bosley or Nioxin or something with minoxidil, and then I would have to put them on something completely different for the extension care. And then on top of that, I would have to add extra products to compensate for all the damage that I knew that those other shampoos were going to do to the extensions. With Monat, I could just hand them, here's your one system. Okay, so let's talk about allergies. You can develop allergies overnight, literally overnight. I've had clients that I've used the same developer, the same color line, same styling process, everything same. And then one day they come in and they're broken out in hives and we can no longer use that color line. So just because maybe somebody was using a product for a year or 2 years doesn't mean that they can't eventually develop a reaction to something. That's anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Is there anything else that you want to say on that?
No, I think that's good. Did we want to talk a little bit about the ingrown hairs? So we just wanted to kind of show you guys what a normal hair looks like and what an ingrown hair looks like. Sarah, talk a little bit about the ingrown hair part that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's really important to be able, when people come to you and they say, I'm having this issue, I want to see pictures. Send me pictures so I can better help you. And so there's a big difference between an ingrown hair, an allergic reaction, just new hair growth, or even something like folliculitis. So an ingrown hair is going to look like a raised somewhat angry bump. It depends on like what kind of bacteria is on the skin, how clean, you know, we always have our hands in our hair. All of that can aggravate that even more, and it can cause an infection in the follicle. That's where you get the whiteheads. Usually, hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Exfoliation of the scalp, consistent exfoliation. What do I mean by that? Consistent brushing, like over brushing. You really want to stimulate your scalp. I mean, our scalp is an extension of our face. We exfoliate our face, but we forget about our scalp. So what can really help ingrown hairs and prevent them is cleansing, proper cleansing. Okay, do you want to talk about scalp issues since we're kind of along those lines?
Absolutely. That kind of flows right into, you know, people with scalp issues like psoriasis, eczema, people with dry scalp and dandruff. And I know a lot of people are like, well, how do you know if it's dry scalp or how do you know if it's dandruff? And, you know, we always recommend doing oil treatments because our oil is so different from anything out there. And it just gives those great benefits of adding those nutrients and antioxidants to the scalp with these types of situations. And obviously we never want to give anybody medical advice ever. So you can always suggest things, but you really need to refer them back to their doctor if they're having really serious issues or whatever. We never want to try to fix anything because we're not certified in that. So just to let you guys know that, never try to fix anybody's problems because that's not our area. And you always should definitely refer them back to their doctor if it's not getting, you know, taken care of or getting worse or whatever, because we're just not qualified to do that. So but yeah, so dandruff is kind of yellowish color. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. It's really thick, and it can usually be because of excess sebum. And I'm going to let Sara go into that a little bit because she was talking to me about that yesterday, and her words are perfect in that area.
Like Kyla was saying, you know, psoriasis, eczema, other scalp issues. There's something I want to touch on when it comes to psoriasis. There's different kinds of psoriasis, and there can actually be a bacterial psoriasis where it almost looks like cradle cap throughout their entire scalp. It can show up out of nowhere, never have any problems in your life. Doesn't necessarily mean it's your shampoo or anything that you're putting on your skin. It's just your skin is like overproducing bacteria. So a lot of times they have to get on antibiotics and use special creams and things like that. So the difference between dandruff and dry scalp, it's imperative that you understand this because you treat them completely differently. Dandruff, like Kyla said, is usually yellow. It's really thick. It's kind of like chunky. I'm sorry to be graphic, but and it's usually because of an overproduction of oil. Too much oil, not enough cleansing, not enough exfoliation. So with somebody like that is dealing with dandruff, you would want them using something cleansing like Revive or Micellar. Maybe those shampoos aren't ideal for their hair type, but they can work them into their routine. Dry scalp is usually white. It's usually very fine. It's white flakes, and it's due to a lack of balanced moisture. So for that, you would want oil. So if I go to somebody with dandruff and I start treating it with oil, I'm going to exacerbate that problem. If I go to somebody that has dry scalp and I'm treating them with clarifying shampoo and micellar, it's going to exacerbate that problem. And you guys, this isn't just our products. This is every hair care line on the planet. There are different shampoos intended for different uses. They do different things. That's not exclusive to Monat. And so being aware of what is what. Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about the symptoms that you're experiencing? Would you say it's more yellow, or would you say it's more white? Would you say it's more thick? Would you say it's more fine? Asking those questions can make or break a situation. The difference between hydration and moisture. This is really important to understand too, because if you have somebody that just has chronic dry scalp, it might not be because they're still doing oil treatments. They're doing all these moisturizing treatments. Well, they might not need moisture. They might need hydration. And if it's a good indicator, let's say somebody says, okay, it's white, it's fine, and it's not dandruff. I'm doing a ton of moisture treatments. That's your key indication of like, okay, they probably need a little bit of advanced hydration, maybe the serum, maybe the shampoo, just working it into the routine once in a while. But hydration puts water back into the hair and skin, and moisture is usually an oil base, and it seals that hydration off. It seals that water off. So I would say you definitely moisturize more than you hydrate. But when you are moisturizing and it's not working, that's your indicator to hydrate. The other thing with that is listen. I know we're talking about hair loss here, but listen to your hair's needs. I mean, if you wake up one day and your hair is dry and it's brittle and it's just not like, it doesn't mean that your shampoo is no good. It means your hair has different needs. It's going to have different needs throughout the year. And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. Some people might notice when they first start using our products that they have an uptick in oil production. And that's because Monat is helping to balance pH levels. Also, we're using an oil that has a very small molecular structure. It very much so mimics our body's own natural oils. And so it just needs some time to balance out. And sometimes it might get worse before it gets better. I know for me, it did. For like 2 weeks, I was super oily. I used to have to wash every other day. Now I wash like once a week, and it's fantastic. But it took me a minute to get there. Oil often fights oil because when the body recognizes that it's getting enough, it doesn't have to produce so much anymore.
You know, everybody's chemistry is different. And like Sara said, something that you start on in the very beginning of Monat, this is why it's so important to check in with your VIP customers and your market partners that have just started on the product within at least 30 to 60 days, checking on your VIPs, because the problem that they come in on could have gotten fixed, and maybe they need to adjust their products on their next flex ship. So this is why it's so crucial, and why I preach so hard to make sure that you're checking in with your VIPs and if they're happy. And because a lot of times what they start on, they need to adjust it. I mean, my goodness, I use so many different shampoos and conditioners throughout the whole year. Like March 2nd, I just had surgery, and my hair changed within 6 weeks, and I had to redo my regimen there. And so it's okay that our bodies are different, the weather's different, the environment's different. So it's okay to change out your shampoos and conditioners, and it's even more crucial to educate your VIP customers on that, because they just think, oh, well, I started this shampoo and conditioner and it doesn't work for me anymore. Well, it does work for you. You just might need a different one. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about, I think we talked about it a little bit before, but vitamin deficiency, making sure that you're taking a good multivitamin, and biotin supplements, obviously 5,000 to 10,000 milligrams a day. If you have excessive shedding, most people won't even know they have hair loss or excessive shedding until they've lost 50% of their hair. That's when most people will say, something's going on here. So they won't even notice until they've lost 50% of their hair. But making sure you're drinking lots and lots of water. Another thing that you can obviously do is take a collagen. And I'm really hoping someday we might come out with something like that. I don't know, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get to them one day, right? But drinking lots and lots of water. It's so important to drink half of your body weight in ounces. So think about that. If you do the math, take your weight, divide it by 2, and you're supposed to drink half of your weight in water every single day. And let me tell you, I have a big giant jug. It's like this big. It's huge. And I fill it up to the ounces that I'm supposed to drink. And I just sip on that throughout the whole day. It's hard. It's really hard. And sometimes people think, oh, I've drank 3 bottles. of water today, of the Aquafina or whatever, y'all, that's not even close to what you should be drinking in water every single day. Does shampoo cause hair loss? That seems to be the question of the century, right? Sarah, I'm going to let you take away on that one.
This is a very like complicated, I mean, obviously there's so much anatomy and chemistry, and there's so many things working inside the body that we don't even see. Like I said, you could be talking to somebody that is perfectly healthy. They eat well, they get plenty of protein, they live a beautiful stress-free life, but they have raging gingivitis and bacteria in their mouths, and it's all going to their heart. And I mean, that kills people. All I'm saying is you just never know. You never know what is going on with somebody. And I don't ever try to play doctor. I always am pushing people, like, if we can't pinpoint where this is coming from or why it possibly could be happening, then you absolutely need to see your doctor. I want to bring up an example. There was a co-washing line, a well-known co-washing line that was sold on like QVC. The formulator, well, the owner of the company is a celebrity hairstylist. And, his company went through a lot like what ours did. And this particular product is considered a co-washing product. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But basically, he came out and said, like, we haven't changed any of our formulas and any of our products. And literally, it came out, all of these reports of negativity, it came out of nowhere, and just as fast as it came, it went. We still haven't changed our formulation. So where did it all go? If the products were really so bad, where did it all go? And so this particular line, I used to dog and talk mad trash about and say it caused hair loss, and I never used it one time. Not one time. I might have claimed that I did, but people can say whatever they want. Dr. Antonella Tosti, she is a world-renowned scalp disorder. She's incredible. She's written so many articles, and she's amazing. She has said time and time again, a rinse-off product is not going to cause hair loss. Now, that being said, a co-wash works differently than something that contains surfactants or detergents like Monat, right? There's ingredients in it that help it to emulsify, help to remove the product itself from itself. And I know this is getting a little bit more in depth, but co-washes, so we just came out with a co-wash, actually, the conditioning co-wash. Love it. It's so amazing. But what happens sometimes with people, especially people that follow the curly girl method, is they just coat and coat and coat and coat and coat with that co-wash. It's called a co-wash because it's intended to be washed alongside with a cleanser. You're co-washing. Use alongside. And so that cleanser is intended to help remove the product itself from the hair, the scalp, and the follicle. When too much heavy silicones, waxes, even just co-wash product, if you're not using something to cleanse it from the follicle itself, it can, over time, it can cause some damage if we aren't using a proper cleanser with it. Like Kyla said, what you start with might not be what you continue with. Your hair has different needs throughout the year. Listen to those needs. So let's say you start with the volume line, and 3 months into it, you're like, my hair's dry. Well, the volume line is one of the most cleansing shampoos that we have, next to the clarifying shampoo and micellar. And if you're not using moisture along with it, you're going to feel dry. That's Monat or no Monat. That's any volume line. And so listening to your hair's needs, okay, it's time for me to work in moisture. It's time for me to work in hydration. It's time for me to work in mask treatments. Overnight oil treatments should be a thing that you're practicing, along with a weekly mask treatment.
Well, and you know, Monat has treatment systems too. I always tell people to start out with their regular cleansing shampoos and conditioners and add in those treatment systems like the restructuring line. That's not something that I recommend you to use every single day, you know, all the time. That is a treatment system. The
And I never recommend that first order.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I've seen our computer kind of recommend it sometimes, but I always feel like you need to have a good cleanser, a good regiment to start off with, and then you can add in some of those treatment systems for sure. Just like with the IRT spray, you can add that product to any one of our lines. You know, if someone's like, well, my hair is like really, really thick and this, that, and the other, but I have shedding or I have hair loss, you can add in products with any of the lines, but just making sure that they get the right line for their hair type here. And I'm answering a question really quickly on the IRT. I always start telling my people when they first start to use it for 60 to 90 days, twice a day. And then after that, you can break it down to once a day. And then even after that, after about 30 or 60 days, you can use it once every other day. You know, you just have to kind of watch and see where you need it in certain times in your life. You may have more shedding than other times. So IRT, you can use it when you first start, twice a day, mostly at night, because at night when we're asleep, our cellular activity is higher. So I like to use it at night. But you don't have to use it twice a day, every day for the long haul, but just as you need it. But when we first start out, we use it more often like that.
Somebody is
yeah.
asking, I'm sorry, Kyla. Somebody
Yeah,
is asking, when we start using the IRT spray, does that mean we will always need to use it? Or when growth gets better, we can stop that process? And like you were saying, you know, as growth is coming in, then you can back off of it. But I will say this, just like a diet, if I were to start eating like crap again, meaning being really hard on my hair, maybe using other products that are full of silicones and parabens and all of that stuff, and I start snacking on cake, I'm going to gain weight again. You get what I'm saying? So just, I'm a firm believer, healthy scalp, healthy hair. And if you're making sure that you are doing everything that you can to make sure that your scalp is healthy, you should be fine without the IRT spray, as long as you've, you know, encouraged some of that growth early on. I don't think you have to be on it for forever.
I always love that analogy. It's like a diet. If you're eating great and doing good, exercising, everything's great. But when you stop eating and bad and all that stuff, it's not going to do as good anymore, right? So next, we're going to talk to you a little bit about red clover extract. Now, there is a massive difference between red clover leaf and red clover leaf extract, and Monat uses red clover leaf extract. There's a big, huge difference, you guys. And let me tell y'all, red clover leaf is in almost every product that we ever use outside of Monat. Every product in the Walmarts and the Targets, there is that in it, right? Sarah, talk to them a little bit about the red clover leaf extract.
Yeah, so like Kyla was saying, that it's a lot different than just dumping straight up red clover into our vats. It's literally like 0.000036 of our formulation. I mean, think about that. That's less than 1%. It's a rinse off product. And some people have made really bold claims that it's a hormone disruptor. You guys, the tampons that we use, the furniture that I'm sitting on, this fabric, my planner, the bottles that I'm drinking out of, the fabrics that we wear, the toothpaste that we use, the laundry detergent, the food that we eat, the water that we drink. Do you know how many people are on hormonal replacement medications? And that goes through our water filtration system. Unless you have reverse osmosis water filters, a lot of that stuff isn't coming out of your water. It is not I've heard so many people on the internet say this particular shampoo caused my periods to go out of whack or fluctuated my hormonal levels. I'm sorry, it's not one product, it's an entire lifestyle. The products that we are cleaning our homes with, wiping down our countertops with, everything contains xenoestrogens. And so I have made a conscious effort to really clean up my entire house. Everything that we touch, the surfaces, the bed sheets that we sleep in, everything, literally everything. So I've really tried to pay attention to like where things are sourced. And yes, you're going to pay more money for products that don't contain some of this stuff. But the next time that you hear somebody say, well, Monat is a hormone disruptor, like, please use your best judgment and know, like, look at the cattle and the livestock in order to get that stuff to market and plump them up. They're pumping them full of hormones. I don't want to even want to go into the food topic, but it's in everything that we consume, everything. So have confidence. I have confidence behind these products. And plus, when they're a rinse-off topical product, you're not ingesting them, you're not eating them, hopefully. Then, you know, it's even more diluted. Okay.
I remember, I was telling Sarah, I remember Jamie Ross was on stage in San Francisco, and he was kind of talking, and he answered this question, and he was like, well, are they ingesting like thousands and thousands of bottles of it? Are they eating it? You know, and it was so funny to hear him saying that. He was kind of so confused by that question, because, you know, he's a science mind. He doesn't hear the things that we hear, I'm sure. But okay, so next we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect when people first start using our products. Is there a transition period? If you're struggling with hair loss, do you wash daily? Yes, we have already determined that. And the proper use of our products and why they do like the things that they do. So a lot of people will see an excess of oil when they first start. They'll see matting of the hair when they first start. There's so many reasons why that happens. The pH balance of the scalp and the hair when you first start is trying to balance out. And sometimes, you know, there's people that use the product and boom, they're right off the bat, they're amazing. They have the most amazing hair, right? Sometimes it takes people a week. Sometimes I've even seen it take people 3 to 4 weeks before that is balanced out. It depends on what they were using before. I mean, if they were using a 99-cent bottle of shampoo and conditioner, it may take a little bit longer to get that gunk off their hair, right? And so I've seen a lot of people with the matting too, and that's because of all those silicones and waxes that's on their hair. And it's so important to continue to brush. And I even have people brush the conditioner on their hair in the shower. Get a little wide tooth comb in the shower and brush it through to kind of help get all of that buildup off the hair as well. It's important to use the proper detergents, like we said, to get rid of that DHT hormone. And our products do contain DHT hormone blocking ingredients that you'll want to use daily if people have a lot of shedding. So Sarah, did you want to add anything to that?
Transitioning where you might feel more sticky or even tangly at the end is not exclusive to Monat. It's when you switch to any natural product line that isn't using heavy coating silicones, waxes, parabens, things like that. Like the Moroccan method, and they sell products specific like bentonite clay to help people transition through the process. The no poo method, things like that. When you are no longer coating the hair in heavy laminating ingredients, and then you switch to something that is no longer putting those heavy laminating ingredients on the hair, but it contains a gentle surfactant, it's going to work any of that buildup out of the hair. Like I said, remember the analogy about the shower doors and scale building up? All of that builds up and into our hair. Our hair is a fiber, and it has an outer layer called the cuticle, and the cuticle looks like shingles on a roof. They open and close. And so you can get all kinds of buildup that packs itself in between those raised shingles. And as it's working itself out, as Monat's working, what causes that tangling at the ends is not being able to get all of this gunk out of there. As soon as we can work it out of the hair, then that cuticle can lay flat. So what I recommend for people that are transitioning, overnight oil treatments. The oil works as like a magnet. It attracts any bad oils, dirty oils. It attracts any buildup. It sucks that stuff up. So when you go to wash your hair the next day with something cleansing, it's going to take some of it with it. I also recommend, my personal recommendation for people is a little bit of clarifying shampoo with a little bit of charcoal powder. That charcoal powder also acts as a magnet. And it helps to attract any of that buildup or gunk out of the hair. The thing is, if you are doing any kind of clarifying service, your hair is going to feel like straw after, because it's clarifying everything, the good and the bad. So it's really important that if you are clarifying, you want to make sure that you're putting the moisture back into the hair. I love the micellar because it's very gentle. It can be used daily, whereas clarifying shampoo, absolutely not. It cannot be used every day. It should only be used, I personally only clarify like twice a month.
We want to say that we can never guarantee hair growth with our products. We know that. We can never guarantee it. We guarantee results of some sort, obviously, more shine, better texture, less frizz. We guarantee some things, right? But we can never guarantee hair growth. We always ask for a 90-day trial period. You know, we have a 30-day money back guarantee, but really you're going to see the most results in 90 days. Just like with someone that wants to take care of hair loss, you give them a sample, you're like, well, you're really not going to see any benefits from just a sample. They might see a little tiny bit with the texture, but they're not going to see anything, you know, as far as hair growth or anything with just one wash. Sometimes you're not going to see anything with 30 days of washing either. So we want to make sure that we're telling our people to give it 90 days tops, to see if they see any kind of change. And when a customer comes to you and reports hair loss, your initial reaction is going to be everything. When people come to me and tell me I'm experiencing hair loss or whatever, and they have been on my products, my initial reaction is, oh my gosh, I wonder what's going on. Like, have you changed anything? Like, and we're going to go over some questions of things that you can ask. Again, shampoos and conditioners do not cause hair loss. So there's so many questions that you can ask to find out kind of what's going on in their life. And never urge them to continue using the product if they're not comfortable with it. Again, we are not doctors. We cannot tell anybody anything that's going on with their health. All we can do is ask questions and recommend that they go back to their doctor. And just remember, you guys, we're not salespeople, we're educators. And we love to educate on this kind of thing. Being in Monat and what we do, we can educate people all day long on what hair loss is about. But again, we're not doctors. They need to go to a doctor and figure out what's going on, because hair loss comes from the inside of the body. It does not come from things that we put on our body, unless you're putting some really bad things, you know. But anyway, teach people why they might be losing hair, and you know, a good educator asks what's going on and how we can help. And how we can help sometimes is recommending they go to their doctor.
The Monat didn't work for me. I used Monat and Monat didn't work for me. Here's the thing. Monat can only do so much. Let me give you an example. I have hyperthyroid. I've been using the products for 5 years. Nothing else has touched my head. When I first started using the products, I was actually in hair extensions because I was trying to hide how bad my hair loss was. I'm on a medication that causes hair loss. I had just lost my dad. I was grieving, stress. It was a really hard time. So my hair was so bad. And I remember sitting at my kitchen table crying, having my mom look at it because I wasn't brave enough. Like, I didn't want to see it. And so fast forward to about a year well, it's probably been about 8 months or so ago. I had major dental work done, and I was put under several times. We were moving into my house. I was traveling. We just got a new puppy. I was recently I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. I had I knew what was coming. I knew what was ahead for me. So I was able to prepare. I was able to start using IRT spray, and luckily my hair didn't freak out like it did the first time where I ended up in extensions. I couldn't imagine what my hair would look like now if I wasn't using Monat. That being said, Monat can only do so much. And if it's working against bad habits, during all of this, I was really babying my hair. I'm trying not to use heat. I'm limiting how many ponytails I have. And, it has to be a collaboration between the customer or the market partner and the products. If you are bleaching your hair and then going back on top of it with heat, and even if you're using a heat protectant and you're using brushes that rip through tangles and all these bad habits, then the products never have a chance to work. So when people start to use the products, I always encourage them, give me 90 days. And if you can give me 90 days of a true partnership, and what I mean by that is, let's agree on some habits that maybe will change, like even just introducing a silk pillowcase, things like that. Like, are you willing to change any of your styling habits, basically, is what I'm asking them. So just know Monat can only do so much. If you have somebody that's saying it's not working or whatever, then there's something going on. Okay, somebody has an allergic reaction to the product, any product. Doesn't mean it's a bad product. Like, I have a laundry detergent, my whole family can use it. I can't, I break out in hives. It doesn't mean that laundry detergent is bad. It just means it's not for me. So if you have somebody who you could potentially think could be having an allergic reaction, you guys, we use all kinds of actives and essential oils. Have them do just a skin patch test on the inside of their arm. There's all kinds of YouTube videos that walk you through how to do a proper skin patch test. Okay, back to you, Kyla.
All right. So some of the questions, I was trying to answer some questions that people had there. Some questions you should be asking your customers when they report hair loss to you. Don't get defensive. Just be sympathetic and understand that, you guys, hair loss is a very, very serious thing, and it's a very emotional thing. And so be empathetic to that and just discuss, kind of what's going on. So some of the things that you could ask them is, one of the first things, why did you start Monat in the first place? Maybe they're still having the same problem they did when going into Monat. And ask them, why did you start the product in the first place? Remind them of that. And if the problem has not changed, again, they need to go to see a doctor, because like Sara said, Monat can only do so much, right? You can ask them, tell me what's been happening in your life the last 3 to 4 months, the last 3 to 4 months, because we know that if somebody gets sick, 6 to 8 weeks later, even 3 months later, is when they can notice something going on with their hair. I had my surgery again March 2nd. 6 weeks to the day is when my hair, I started seeing a little bit of shedding from doing the anesthesia. People don't think, oh, well, I haven't changed anything, because they're just thinking about in the last 3 days. So ask them if they've been sick with any kind of illness in the last 3 months. So that's one. Have they had any recent moves? Have they had a job change? Any medication changes? Have they had any surgeries? Any diet changes? Any workout routines that they've started doing? Have they tried to take new supplements? And let me tell you guys something, with everything that's going on right now in the world, it is causing a lot of people stress. There's people that have lost their jobs, people that are staying home that they're not used to staying at home. They're eating at home more. Their diets are changing. People are going to start to see some different changes with different things in their body, with everything that we're going on. Regardless if they think that they're not stressed out. I mean, my goodness, you can turn on the dang TV and listen to one little segment of the news or something, and it stresses me out. So hearing a lot of those things, which, by the way, I don't listen to all of that all the time, but sometimes it catches my eye. But with everything that we're going through right now, it can really cause some changes in a lot of people's lives. And so I just want you to keep that in mind. You know, you may start to hear some things that people have some changes with their hair. And so you guys may need to change up their products a little bit. Again, check in with your VIP customers, making sure they're happy with their product, because you never know what somebody else is telling them. You need to make sure that you're keeping on track with their hair needs, and they may be going to another hairdresser that doesn't know what our products or how our products work, and they may be telling them to do something else and adding things in, and we know Monat doesn't always work well with others. So make sure that you're keeping in touch with them. Always ask for a picture of what their hair is looking like, how much hair they're losing, if they are losing hair when they brush after they get out of the shower. How often are they shampooing? This is another question to ask. Do you take a daily supplement? Have you ever taken any thyroid medication or had any blood work done to determine your hormone levels or anything like that? Because we know as women, our hormone, and guys too, our hormone levels can be all over the place. And as we get older, they change quite a bit too. How often are you brushing your hair? Sara and I both recommend a wet brush. We love the wet brush. It's such a good brush, and you should definitely brush your hair daily. Every single night before I go to bed, I brush my hair to kind of stimulate my scalp. And so how often are they brushing their hair? Maybe they're not, you know, everybody needs to brush their hair.
And make sure you just tell them, I want to help you as much as possible. I don't want to be intrusive. So please, if there's any questions that I'm asking that you don't feel comfortable answering, I totally understand. But again, always redirect to their doctor. Do you want to answer a couple questions in the chat? There was one question that I saw. Somebody asked, what do you mean that by being allergic to DHT? Allergic just means like the body is having a negative response to something. And so basically what DHT does is it attacks the follicle and it causes inflammation. And that inflammation is what is going to restrict blood flow, water, all of that stuff. So that's what Kyla was meaning by being allergic to DHT. You're having a negative reaction to DHT.
So with our dry shampoo and intense repair spray, does this make it so washing isn't needed for hair loss due to DHT?
No, you absolutely, because like Kyla was saying, when you're struggling with hair loss, yes, you want to feed the DHT blockers and nutrients and all those things, but you also, like the washing itself, with the detergents also helps to remove that DHT hormone. So yes, they should be washing every day. Would the black help for dandruff as well? People don't realize this, but the black shampoo is oil intensive. It contains a lot of oil. A lot of people think that it's cleansing. It's not. The Revive is our most cleansing. The reason why black is so great on blondes is because it has peppermint oil. It helps to break up some of that mineral. Not to say that black isn't cleansing. It just does. It has a significant amount of oil in it. So I would say for dandruff, always stick with something cleansing. But yes, that was a great question.
Would you say ethnic hair needs both hydration and moisturization?
Absolutely. All hair needs hydration and moisture, a proper balance of hydration, of moisture, of protein, and all those things. Different hair is going to have different needs. Our product line, I feel like even as a hairstylist, it's like, well, we need a line for this hair type or this ethnicity or this. We have everything that you could possibly need for any hair type. It's just a matter of understanding the products and knowing what product is best for you. The Super Nourish line is made for that hair type. Very coarse, very dry. The Super Nourish is 40% oil. It's amazing. That's exactly who they developed it for, but I use it. There's people with fine hair use it. So the products are interchangeable for different people. It's just figuring out like what is your ideal cocktail. whether it's hyaluronic acid, you're using hydration, or you're using the Rejuvenate oil, the leave-in, your fiber repair, things like that.
Awesome.
Do you want to answer one more and then we can wrap this up? I know we're getting late.
I just want to say any health issue that somebody has, like trichotillomania, acne, any kind of those things, y'all definitely refer them back to their doctor. I mean, really, honestly, we just, as much as we want to answer all of those, I mean, it's just really best for them to go back to their doctor.
One more thing before we hop off, you guys, the hair quiz is not there to replace you as the person that is giving a consultation. It's there to be a general guideline, but I personally, I never go off of the beauty quiz results. Not to say you shouldn't be using it, but it can only do its very best. You know, it's an algorithm. So it doesn't take the place of you. If there's something that it recommends that you're like, nope, then go with your gut, go with your best judgment, do what you've been taught. Somebody just asked a question about, we were taught oil fights oil. So if they have dandruff, which is overproduction, would Rejuvenate or Renew not help? No, I wouldn't. I would stick with cleansing. Not until it's cleared up, and then, you know, you can worry about like moisture and all of that stuff later on and balancing oil production, but you've got to take care of the initial issue first. Okay, is there anything else that you see?
I think that wraps it up. We just want to, you know, again, reiterate that this is stuff that we've learned throughout our years of doing hair. We are not doctors. And anything that you guys don't feel comfortable about, just refer them to their doctor and find out what's going on. Again, hair loss comes from internal issues. You know, like we said, stress, surgeries, medication, all of those things are huge factors. And I did want to touch up one thing on the hair quiz. I really use that for those questions. I'll see what the computer says. Yeah, huh?
Oh, like you take the questions and you ask?
No, I have them fill it out. I have them fill it out because I like to see their answers to those questions. And I like to see what the computer recommends as products. And then, of course, I adjust and do whatever I need to. Yeah, but the hair quiz is such a great tool to use for those questions. I mean, you can get on the phone and ask all those questions you want, but it's like, hey, take this hair quiz, and you get the answers to it, and you can kind of evaluate it and look it over. So yeah, I really utilize a hair quiz for those questions that they get asked on that. So
yeah, I should have clarified that. I never.
Yeah.
The hair quiz is amazing. It puts people in a drip campaign, an email campaign. It's a fantastic way to grow your email list. Yeah. But like Kyla was saying, I never let the hair quiz do the recommendation for me. Yeah. I always do it. But it's a great way to just do a quick consultation with them. So that way you're not having to type out all the questions.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's times that I'm like, why did it recommend that? But I mean, you know, I just do my own thing. But it's mostly those questions that I like, which is, you know, again, you can get on the phone and ask the same questions, but let the hair quiz kind of do the work for you. So I hope this was super helpful for you guys. Sara is such a wealth of knowledge. Oh my goodness. She's incredible. I always love collaborating with her. And yeah, so hope you guys learn some great things that you can kind of take back to your teams, or even have knowledge when people come to you with things. And just be sensitive, empathetic, and just love on people and share this special gift that we have. We're so excited to be able to talk to you guys tonight, and we appreciate you all so very much. Sara, do you have anything last things to say?
No, that's it. If we didn't get to your question, guys, there's like literally 100 in there, and we're doing our best. So I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question. But you know, use the resource pages, use your back office, all those things. Consult with your upline, ask questions. But yeah, thanks for being on. And Kyla, thank you so much for doing this with me. With the recording, you're going to have to give us roughly about 72 hours to get it to you. So just a heads up. Kyla will have it. I will also have it, but just hang tight on it because we need to edit it down and make it shorter and sweeter. So just hang tight on that. Anything else, Kyla?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.